Next session, Beyond Cryptocurrencies, the Impact of Blockchain Technologies on Industries, will be moderated by Petar Kajevski. He's a management and IT consultant and an Ambassadors Club member at Macedonia 2025. Thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to hearing your discussion.
Thank you everyone for coming. We are going to have a session on a topic which is in general quite hot in general in the public mind, all the time hearing about news. This cryptocurrency did this cryptocurrency did that. They sold a picture of monkey and it's not even a picture for so much money, or they didn't sell it. But today we are going to have a session around blockchain on a bit of a different topic, aligned with the goals of the conference, on the topic of the use of blockchain in industries. So first I'll introduce the panel guests, and they'll be getting into discussion kind of more in different topics to kind of cover lots of ground and to kind of serve as sort of an eye-opening session where people who might have not considered using blockchain in industries in their regular work would kind of have some kind of ideas to go further into the search, into a field which is quite dynamic. So our panelists are here in the room. There is Laura K. Inamedinova, who is the CEO of her own marketing agency, specializing in blockchain and all other things which are cutting-edge technologies, who is of course covering the marketing part. And she is, on the previous STEM panel, there was lots of discussion about people who were coming from engineering, from science. She also has a background in physics and was one of the people, technical people, science people, who would overthink in the beginning that marketing is really something fluffy, which is sort of a waste of time. But in time realized that actually there is some value to this, and now she's crisscrossing the globe, really working internationally and working on cutting-edge marketing for technologies.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Then we have Mladen Milanković from Serbia, from the HTEC group, who is the delivery lead there, who is covering the technical side, who has a long career into delivering on all kinds of technologies and development, and who's in his current job at HTEC has become something of the blockchain guru. He started with one project. He's recently worked a lot on a very advanced crypto wallet project that the company is doing. And one thing led to another, so now every time a customer is coming and wants to do something with blockchain, and you can imagine that's quite a topic, he is the person who gets to speak, so he has lots of exposure on different topics. And speaking of HTEC, HTEC is one of the examples of what was said yesterday in the panels, that most countries, or all the countries in the region here, are probably too small to be a viable unit for many of the business in scale. And HTEC is an example of a company which has big presence in Serbia, which has presence in Macedonia, a large office, presence in some other countries in the region. So very much the point of yesterday that somehow jointly regionally is the way to go into the big world. We have also one participant online, which is Anastasia Ksenofontova. I'm not sure if you can show her on the screen. Anastasia is a friend of mine. We went together, we started together in strategy. Hello, Anastasia. We started together in the same bootcamp batch at Roland Berger in strategy consulting many years ago. And Anastasia continued to do a long career in both industry banking and management consulting until very recently, her very last position, she was a partner for financial services with the Boston Consulting Group in New York. But recently she shared a message with the friends that she is leaving what's her next step, going into independent management advisor. She said that she is leaving the World Surfing Federation circuit to go to the private surfing, which probably tells you something what is her favorite hobby, and probably tells you why she is the first participant in the summit to join us live from Bali, Indonesia. Hi, Anastasia.
Hey. Hello, everybody.
So these are the participants. We are going to be flowing into the different parts, and we're also actually going to start first with yet another participant who I'll introduce with her speech, Dr. Ingrid Vasiliu-Feltes. If we get them to the slides, usually I should just give it to the participants, but because like such a topic left and right, just a bit of introduction to what is it that we're going to talk about. Blockchain and other so-called digital ledger technologies, you see engineers, you have a problem if it's not mutually exclusive, totally comprehensive as a definition, a type of activities which would simply allow you that you have data distributed somehow globally, and you can trust that hasn't been changed, that what the data says it is, without the need of a trusted central party. So there is no owner of the list. Somehow, with different types of crypto technology, different types of economic incentive, you are making this wonder, this trick, that we can trust the data without having to trust anybody. Recently, to that, you have the capability that you trust that certain programs are being executed automatically. These are the so-called smart contracts. By the way, we'll try as much as possible in the session to avoid using all this lingo, because if you're ever exposed to the crypto world, it's a little bit like a different world, like what are these people doing? They're usually using English language words on the individual level, but put in the sentence, you don't know. So we'll try to stay out of that as much as possible. Now, there are different areas where you can use these technologies. What probably most of you are mostly exposed to know about is the financial assets. So is it the Bitcoin, is it other assets, investment or not? Second one is kind of activities where this ethos of decentralization, of not having to trust anybody, leads to activities that try to enable new kinds of human activities. One of them is the field of decentralized organizations. How can we have an organization without a formal boss? We don't have to trust the formal boss, but yet somehow we are going to make decisions, and people are doing lots of things in the field. And the third one is actually kind of the most everyday activities, whatever we do in our business, that blockchain can help some things around the trust and everything. So today, we are going to focus on the last part. Sorry if somebody wanted to talk about should you hodl your staking investment in some NFT of monkeys. Not this session, maybe afterwards in the lunch. And to do this, we'll have two parts. Firstly, a bit about the what are the cases for blockchain, why businesses should use it, and government. And the second part, some tips from the experts about what to do to make it more successful. And last thing about the focus is what we are not going to talk about today is what is probably the most important blockchain issue for Macedonian businesses today, which is how do I make my employees not steal electricity to mine coins? Sorry, that's not 2022 digitalization summit, that's 1922 electrification summit, out of scope, sorry for that. Even though realistically, that's the most important thing in Macedonia now. And before we go, just last thing to abuse my position as a moderator, if you go to the next slide, a piece of advice, which is really kind of notes to myself personally, because nobody ever called me a crypto enthusiast, a crypto promoter, about how to get most of this worldwide trend on crypto. Everybody says crypto, crypto this, crypto that. And actually some ancient wisdom, some ancient tales will help with this. The first one is, on the left-hand side, don't throw the baby with the bathwater. So yes, there is lots of hype, there is some fraud, there is lots of overselling, there is like people, cases of geeks who haven't much exposed to social sciences, saying things about how the things are going to change with crypto, which are obviously not true. But there is also many valuable things, so do not ignore those because you also heard some nonsense, what you believe is a nonsense. This we won't have in the panel. What we are going to have now in the panel is my second advice, and this is about, on the right-hand side, the stone soup, or in some parts of Europe, as it's called, the nail soup. You know the story, somebody comes to a village, they are hungry, and they want to have some food. They ask the villagers, can you please give me some food? Oh no, sorry, we don't have food. Can you just give me a stone and some water, and I will cook a stone soup? Okay. The curious villagers give them water and stone, and they start boiling water with a stone. Can I get a little bit of carrot just to make color? Okay, they just give them a little bit of carrot simply because they're interested to see what's the stone soup. They ask for eggs and flour and everything, and by the end of the story, there is a full soup with all the ingredients and the stone, the soup is cooked, the person takes out the stone, throws it away, and just eats the soup. So many of the things which we are going to hear in the blockchain are not really crucially dependent on blockchain technologies. And then also many of the things can be implemented without blockchain technologies. But today in 2022, the money, the talent, the ambition is in the blockchain. So many of the most relevant trends around trust, around regulations, around decentralized organization are being worked on in the context of blockchain, which is one more reason why to pay attention to the area. So this was my introduction, and we'll start with a much punchier what is exactly blockchain in enterprise technology by a recorded video by Dr. Ingrid Vasiliu-Feltes, who is a global expert in different areas of new technology in the healthcare field, and who is bridging the experience from academia and business, who unfortunately couldn't be present at the conference. So if you can play the video.
Welcome. This is Dr. Ingrid Vasiliu-Feltes, CEO of Softhread. I also have the privilege of serving as the Chief Innovation Officer of the Government Blockchain Association and as an advisor of the European Union Blockchain Observatory and Forum. Today, I will share the blockchain impact across all industries. As we have witnessed over the last few years, there has been a tremendous increase in enterprise blockchain solutions that have been adopted across all industries. Executives across the world currently realize the impact and opportunity blockchain affords. 74% of them expected blockchain will become mainstream in the next 5 years, and 92% of executives consider blockchain to be a significant opportunity for their business. Please allow me to share a few of the key advantages of blockchain technologies. Permissioned or permissionless types allow enterprise users flexibility. Distributed data sharing over peer-to-peer network reduces single points of failure. Consensus-driven algorithms reduce the need for intermediary parties. Immutable transactions ensure trust. Smart contracts promote touchless interactions across process chains. When we look at the blockchain enterprise solutions market, it is worth noting the value of $12.5 billion and the fact that it is poised to grow at a rate of 27.8%. USA and Western Europe are currently recording the highest adoption rate. However, experts forecast that Asia will also record a high growth. Here are some of the top industries that have witnessed the highest economic impact. Banking and capital markets, insurance, real estate, retail and consumer goods, video gaming have had proven results. It is also forecasted that telecommunications, energy, defense, space, media advertising, and entertainment will also record record growth over the next few years. Of course, we have also witnessed tremendous challenges when deploying blockchain solutions across all industries, such as regulatory, compliance, and legal challenges. And there is a tremendous need to build a culture of digital ethics and a culture of cyber resilience, as we have witnessed tremendous privacy violations as well as data breaches almost on a weekly basis. Together, we can also work to reduce the cost of blockchain deployments in order to afford small and medium businesses to deploy blockchain solutions at a larger rate. Interoperability, development of standards, and customized KPIs for blockchain deployments are also essential for long-term success. Additionally, enterprises that wish to align with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals must incorporate blockchain in all their other sustainability strategy. I'm delighted to share with you our Softhread product portfolio, which leverages the core functionalities of blockchain, federated learning, and edge computing to offer zero-trust solutions for several industries such as healthcare and life sciences, energy, space, and several others. In our privacy and security portfolio, we have an e-consenting tool, digital identity tool, as well as auditing and security tools. These are leveraging the core blockchain benefits such as immutability, traceability, transparency, our ability to do strong data governance. Our operational efficiency platform leverages all these core blockchain functionalities and adds the automation and speed of transaction to afford enterprises the ability to not only retain, but also gain operational efficiency and reduce costs. I'm very proud to share the contribution that Softhread can make towards healthcare 4.0 enablement, as well as smart city enablement. Our Zero Trust Data Exchange platform is uniquely suited to contribute to Healthcare 4.0 due to our multi-party imaging exchange and our multi-party precision medicine solution. I have to share that during our technology demonstration projects, it has been interesting to note the difficulty to integrate some of the blockchain solutions with the other enterprise solutions. However, we pride ourselves in developing quite elegant opportunities to add our Softhread platform to any legacy systems. It has been a pleasure to share with you some of the opportunities and challenges, as well as the rise of blockchain across all industries. I'm looking forward to collaborating with some of you in the future, and I'm happy to entertain any questions you might have. You can reach me via any social media channel. Thank you.
So hope you started getting some idea of the themes with the examples from the healthcare sector, which were told by Dr. Ingrid Vasiliu-Feltes. And now we will continue with the topic from Indonesia. So Anastasia will share some of the examples that she has seen around being exposed with top-level projects from a top consultancy, around the projects and the rationale why include blockchain.
Everybody, I'm very humbled to participate in this forum. There is no echo anymore, right? Perfect. Peter, thank you for inviting me, but maybe next time I can also join the panel about women's happiness and success. A great interest of me too. Back to the blockchain. There are many applications, as we heard from Ingrid, and I would like to share with you most advanced use cases, which hopefully you could also deploy in the nearest future. The first one, as Peter mentioned, of course, is around automatic payments, escrow services, clearance, settlements, and post-trade reconciliation. You know that finance industry has received the most benefits so far, but the solutions start to save time and money in other industries as well. Okay, I hear the translation quite loud. I don't know if that's the design, but just letting you know.
Sorry. Do you hear us? All right. So can we somehow turn down the translation? Especially when you also speak a Slavic language, probably Macedonian translation is even more bothering because you can understand, you cannot ignore it.
Whatever works better for you. Okay, I think that works now. Okay, so back to the cases, right? The first one I just mentioned, which I think we all know companies like Ripple, right? Finance industry receive the most benefits so far. But the solutions start to go also to the other industries. And not only that, but also they expand on the country level. Now, the first example that I wanted to share with you is called Spunta. And this is the blockchain for Italian interbank reconciliation. Operates since 20. More than 90% of Italian banks provide transaction reporting through the blockchain. Cloud automatically intercept non-matching transactions using the shared algorithm and standardize the communication. Also allows participants to reconcile operations daily rather than monthly as it was before. And the current match rate is over 97%. Not bad. I think that's a great example. I don't know if we could bring it on for Macedonian Central Bank, but something to think about. The second use case is around single data systems across the value chain. So imagine and data is stored uniformly across the whole value chain of an industry. All updated entities in the ledger can be traced back to their origin, enabling instant track and trace. We observe great cost savings for accounting and for reconciliation for these systems. Here is another example. I think you'll like this one. The National Registry of Republic of Georgia currently uses the blockchain-based land titling system to facilitate its services. Georgia, the country, not the state. The blockchain solves the problem of the land registry accuracy and transparency, where, the country where the land titles could be arbitrarily altered benefits a lot from this registry. Now the blockchain protects data from internal manipulation and external cyber attacks. It also provides trust in the National Land Registry system. So this system operates since 2017, and since that time, few other countries in US states have piloting similar applications. I know that the code is on an open source platform, again, something to consider for the country. The third application is identity management and anonymity. So blockchain allows participants to store immutable records and selectively release proof of ownership. It executes transfer of ownership of data to whatever holds it. Ingrid already touched that examples of the healthcare. I think healthcare is a great. Blockchain can solve issues like patient having full ownership of the data. Living in the state, it's quite challenging. For me, was to get data from the doctors, the records or MRI scans, and often I had to wait a lot and also pay extra for this. Sounds ridiculous to me, but this is how it works. On the other side, in the US, every doctor's credential has to be verified in such a detail that for a new hospital who admits that doctor for work, it takes months. Imagine how many surgeries that doctor can do in the meanwhile. Even if the previous workspace has already done the verification, this data doesn't flow, from one hospital to another. Now, a company called ProcRedex, which is an American company, is the digital marketplace that facilitates the exchange credentials between accredited members. It allows access to confidential data for healthcare providers. It also monitors provider data, encourages data sharing. Remember, the whole thing about Bitcoin white work, there is some incentives. So there are incentives here too. It can also deliver automatic updates on credentials. These are a few examples that I wanted to share with you. So what are the main criteria for broad application scaling up? There are two. Number one, saving. Is there a financial business case for the industry? Me as a consultant, I'm always looking into that. Second is distribution. Will part of the industry players actually adopt it? And when in combination both, of my experience, the scale up takes just 2 to 3 weeks.
So there was a bit lost, like very much you see the consultants always the skeptical, so what? So what you were saying, just if you can audibly, two reasons to think should they be using. One is what is the business case? What is really return? But the second is kind of the enabler, but will others adopt it? And then there is lots of themes for, I guess, future panels about how to increase the adoption. When we started now, Very much so. By the way, Anastasia, the example of Georgia land register, it's a great one connection to Macedonia 2025 because we have had lots of examples in previous summits exactly about Georgia leading with digital transformation. And this is also something in the part of the land register, the cadastre, which can be quite relevant for Macedonia. Thanks a lot.
Look, Peter, I'm now in Indonesia. The land registry here is a hell, I can tell you. I think for any developing country, that's a great solution.
Right. Thanks. Just quickly in the panel, so we already got lots of use cases. I believe that we previously discussed, Mladen, that you mentioned the case that you've been exposed to also around tracing origination in the food part.
Yeah. So thank you for inviting me. It's great to be here. So yes, the new generations are becoming conscious about what they consume. So a big use of blockchain and exposing the data is in a transportation industry where you could see where your product that you bought, where it was, how it was made, which hands it got through, so you can be sure that it was ethical in one sense, that it wasn't made in a third world country by poor children. And the second one is that you can be sure that what you consume as a food, for example, is produced morally and that it wasn't harmed the animals, for example.
Along the teams. So actually now we plan actually to have some questions. So far we haven't received questions. Please send us some questions. We are now going to answer all the questions in the end. In the spirit of blockchain and distributed work, we prefer to actually have the questions electronically and just to do it so that we can allow people from everywhere. So now this was hopefully you got some idea about what's blockchain in the enterprise, why do it, and now we are going to get into the part of some tips how to be more successful as both somebody who offers solution based on blockchain, but also somebody who is using maybe internally the part. And then we switch to Laura from the aspect of whenever you have a new technology, massively changing, new paradigms, and there is also the question of how to communicate this. How do you communicate it on the technical side? Do you communicate the benefits? So would you like to give some tips into businesses trying to get and try to sell something there?
So first of all, I'm super excited to be here for my first time in Macedonia. Very beautiful country, must pay a lot of compliments. And before I answer this question, I would love to know a little bit more about who is in our audience and how should I tailor all the know-how I have. I've been in the industry since 2016, so definitely there was a lot of ups and downs in the blockchain cryptocurrencies industries itself, and there are a lot of ways and use cases even where you can apply this technology. We had some good examples, but now I would love to learn more from the audience, and I will ask everyone who is currently using their blockchain technology, their business, to raise their hands. Is someone using blockchain at all? One person, two, three. So literally there's only 3 people who are using blockchain right now. And who are the people who are thinking of how to implement in their business, what are the opportunities blockchain offers? Okay, not a lot. And who are just personally thinking, oh, cryptocurrencies are cool, I just want to learn where they are, where they're going, because there's a lot of buzz in the media about it. Okay, so I think there are more just personal interests, so we can definitely start from there and then go towards businesses as well. So when we think about blockchain as a technology, it has so many opportunities to offer for everyday user, for business as well. We can think about just companies using it for data stores, for verifications, these kind of things. And you who are still thinking, could we use blockchain somewhere because it's a buzzword, everyone is doing it, and probably I have to do it as well. You need to first think, so what is your challenge within the organization that you need the opportunities that technology can basically bring? And in some cases, you not necessarily need blockchain, you might need some other technology, you might need just a very, very good programmers and data teams to sort it out. So first understanding what is the issue, and then taking blockchain as just one of the particular sort of use cases could it be applied. When we think about starting a new business on blockchain, could be a cryptocurrency exchange, could be some kind of infrastructure project, layer 1, then we need to ask yourself a question, do you want to go into this industry? This is a definite very exciting industry. If you would like to, I can talk a little bit more about the industry itself, but basically, if you want to go into the blockchain itself as an industry to start your business, sometimes maybe from the scratch or invest, you need to think about, are you ready to kind of rip apart all your belief system about the current financial economical world and build something completely new from the scratch? Because what basically overall the blockchain and cryptocurrencies brought to the market is democracy. Why these technologies are so popular? Because people, young people who are basically built internet, who are sitting in platforms like Reddit, Twitter, Discord. By the way, how many people here have ever went to Reddit and used Reddit? Okay, not a lot. I highly recommend everyone start using Reddit, start using these social media platforms where the youth who are building the future of tomorrow basically sits and interacts. And going back to what I was saying is people were tired of big central banks, big banks. I know there are some banks here, so no offense, basically controlling them, controlling what's going to be the interest rate, what's going to happen with their own money. And they're like, heck no, we don't want that. We want to have our own currency. We want to be the ones having the actual impact in how basically our money, our overall ecosystem evolves. And here where we have some cryptocurrencies, we also have DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, which are basically organizations where people who have their own tokens, which are kind of in a sense like shares. It's not the same in the legal perspective, it's kind of like a shares that people can vote on the development of the organization. So basically people are moving so much towards the having the right, the democracy, the freedom of working with businesses that they have impact in. Because for example, right now, I use Facebook, I use Instagram. I might buy the shares, but do you think Zuckerberg will care if I have some suggestions on the product development? Definitely not. But with blockchain, you actually listen to the people because you're building all products for the people with their input, with also the communities. This is another thing. And third thing, if your interest is just personal, I highly recommend to start just reading news, reading what's happening in the market. There are great media outlets like CoinDesk, Cointelegram, not advertising, but I highly recommend them to start seeing what's happening in the market. Not a financial advice, but spend $10 buying some cryptocurrencies. Because if you have $10 worth of, let's say, Bitcoin, Ethereum, you will start noticing what's happening, isn't going up, isn't going down, and you will start reading why it's happening. I don't know how much of you know what happened with stable coins last week. It was such an exciting situation in the market where a lot of stable coins lost their peg. Again, if I'm going too much into tech things, please stop me. But overall, you need to choose yourself, who are in the audience, where in this industry in the spectrum you want to be. Do you want to build something with blockchain? Do you want to use it yourself? Or just be an advocate and saying, hey, I have some cryptocurrencies, I have something that actually belongs to me and no one can take it away from me, and just be the advocate. So this is more like a general opening from my side, and if I still have time and my moderator is not going to kill me, I can talk more about the tips as well.
No, let's go into the tips, and then the tips from perspective obviously are very much on the side. We said, well, we leave it for now into the new exciting world. But say when it comes, if you will, let's use the internet boom. By the way, many of the analogies about understanding what is happening, it really helped if you were around in the 2000s around. The whole internet boom and the cycle of understanding and hype is very much similar. So about the old industry, people who are trying to sell, to promote a service, a product related to blockchain, what are the typical issues you're saying that people have problems, tips to communicate it more effectively and not just sound like crypto washing?
Of course. So there are basically two things that I want to talk about. First is overall how to promote your product and what are challenge tips. And then the other thing is if you want to bring blockchain technology within your organization, what are internal issues. So speaking about external marketing, first of all, you need to understand yourself first. What is your value proposition of building the product on blockchain and not on something else? And what you're doing is how it's different, how it's exceptional. Why would people need to basically use you, let's say your exchange, your product, your platform, and not someone else? That's number one. Number two, you need to really understand the utility. So I know a lot of people think about, oh, NFTs, these are just pretty pictures. Yes, it started as a cultural thing, but then it moved slowly from a cultural thing to actually utility thing. And now, let's say NFTs can be used as access passes to, let's say, meet your favorite celebrity, go part and be a part of some kind of community. So you need to understand what it is you're building and what kind of value will it bring. Because when you hear the stories in the media where people raise millions of dollars doing just a pretty picture, just as some kind of token without any underlying value, well, you're late for like 2-3 years already. So understanding the value. Then number three is showing your credibility and your track record. Again, this is the industry that's unfortunately, because this is a new industry, is polluted with a lot of wrong projects, with wrong intentions basically. So showing your credibility, showing your team's credibility, what they come from, what's their background, definitely is the number one thing, basically, when it comes to promoting any product for people to trust you. Number four is going really much out there into all crypto-related conferences, event. I just came from Belgrade, where it was Tomorrow conference. I'm going to be going to another conference in a couple of weeks. There's going to be a huge one in New York. There's always a lot of events happening, so you need to be out there in these events, meeting people. I know in the beginning, you come and there are so many buzzwords, you have no idea even where to start. And that's normal. I remember in 2016 when I started in this industry, I had to Google every second word, basically. I was talking with some crypto OGs at that time, and I have science background, so I understand technology. I didn't understand a word they say. So it's normal, just you have to be out there talking to people, getting the insights. Number five, when we talk about promoting your own project, we need to think about different social media channels and the channels where you can build a community. So most of the projects that are successful in the crypto industry are based on the community, and community is the foundation. So it's kind of similar when you think about the stocks, all the people who buy the shares, just here, they're in their Telegram or Discord communities. And if you build a strong community that has the incentive to promote your product, they become your brand ambassadors, and they go and preach about what kind of token they own, what kind of product they support to their friends, their family, their acquaintances. So building the right community on the right channels and understanding what do they care about and what do they want. And here, I highly recommend, if you're just starting out and you're thinking of building something on blockchain, find the right experts, finding people who are in the market, who are going to give you all the insights and know-how, basically, of how the industry develops and what the community wants. These are the key 5 things, but I could talk for ages about these ones. And one more last thing before I give it to our moderator is, if you want to implement blockchain within your organization, is you need to find the champions and stakeholders within it. And you need to educate them what is the benefit of this technology for your business, why it's important, and have the critical mass within it to start first very small, maybe some sort of incubation style of pilot program where you just test things out, see how it fits. You can't expect your organization to switch overnight and become the tech-savvy, web-free type of thing. It has to start small, but going to events, educating them about what's happening, what impact the blockchain has, and we had previous speakers talk about it, really builds the pave for this ecosystem. And now the floor is back to our moderator.
Thanks. And connecting rightly with Mladen, rightly on what you ended up, is you cannot just flip the switch and do it. You need to do certain things. And certainly blockchain is, after all, a technology. So there are IT issues about how to implement it, what I do, what are the parts. So I would like to ask Mladen to share some of the experiences in his work, and he's talking to clients about, say, I'm an organization, I'm going to adopt, which is very easy at the level of a blockchain technology. And obviously the very next question is maybe, which blockchain technology for what cases? So maybe share some of the experiences of handling the challenges on the technical side.
Yeah, so when a customer comes to us at HTEC Group, we first have to devise the use case of the blockchain, and according to them, to that, suggest something, because as we previously heard, we have permissionless and permissioned blockchains, but we also have private. So sometimes a customer can come in and ask us to make a private blockchain, which only he controls, but then the main advantages of the blockchain are basically lost, because what we want, we try to explain to each customer is that the main benefits of the blockchain is that it's transparency. So the customer has to be, company has to be open to open its data to others. And it's immutability. So whatever happened, it has to be transparent to the public, to the other companies, because the big suggestion is to use blockchain if there are multiple parties involved. So if it's a collaboration between companies. The example I mentioned in the transport industry, you would have someone who is producing something, someone who is transporting that, working with that, and then delivering. So there are multiple companies who are working together, and together they could create permissioned blockchain where someone has the authority, because permission means that someone has the authority to decide who can do what with the data, because what blockchain gives us is not just read and write access, but also ownership over the data. So someone who produced that product can has the ownership of that data and can give it to someone else who has then the ownership. I'm skeptical of when someone comes to us and then they want a private blockchain, because we have to think about it in technical terms. If it's private and only one entity can control it, then we lose the decentralized nature of it, and that one entity can basically write anything into the blockchain and change it. If the data is shared between companies, then they have to come to a consensus about what can be written to the blockchain and who has the right access to it. What we have multiple examples that Laura has mentioned is the permissionless.
Sorry, maybe I can just get for the people who are not into this page, what is this public permissionless, public permission, private blockchain? When I mentioned in the introduction, without trusting a central authority, immutable, everything, it is really a continuum. There are different approaches which give you different levels of distribution, distributed data, different levels of security, different levels of how much you trust anybody. And the cryptocurrencies, the Bitcoin, is at the one extreme. Absolutely anybody in the world can do it, anybody can join, it's money, it's the extreme. But then you can reduce some of these requirements and then make simpler solutions which maybe use less energy, which may be easier to implement, all the way down to a private blockchain when I'm a company and I install it just on my server and I use it as a technology. And then comes the question, okay, why on earth would I use it? Obviously not for the reasons about anybody in the world trusting you. However, the technology in the blockchain, also in the private ones, is advancing so quickly that people start using it not for the blockchain-ish advantages, but simply it's a advanced enough product to use it internally. And afterwards, when we get to Anastasia, not to try to challenge the internet connection gods, I think that she has a somewhat more positive view on the private ones. Sorry.
Yeah,
just as a way of explanation, what are the different types of blockchains?
Thank you. Yes, I can go into too technical details. So yes, even private blockchains have some use cases that I see, but yeah, it's a question of why would someone use that. So the big thing is that the permissioned, where I can even see in other space, for example, the legal, the IP laws, the copyright, so where you could have one single source of truth. So you can just turn to the blockchain, who has the IP rights to this and this that I want to use. So and there is the other extreme that you told, that's the permissionless, and there are companies that are trying to go into that space and be permissionless with some things that require permission, where the user can authenticate from the permissionless system into permissioned system, and then use those things.
A question, I just want to change track. If I'm executive and I want to get into something, there is always the question in talent. Any kind of IT you do, there are no people. So in your long experience across different technologies, Do you think it's kind of a very different technology from the point of view introducing it into the organization, getting people who know it, connecting to the systems, or do you think it's part of the eternal cycle of IT? There's new technology, there's time to learn and gets adopted. How do you feel? Do you feel it like something like exotic, or something really more of the continuous business of being surprised as usual? What is your experience?
Yeah, I think that it's a continuous experience of IT upgrading things, because we are going into that direction to have more new things, more security and more transparency. So it's a continuation, but from the development standpoint, it's a new paradigm, a shift in thinking, because we now, as much as we think about it, the developers currently have a centralized view. So we have one connection to the database that we can ask, and we can delete things. So the hard thing in blockchain, because it's immutable, is, for example, if we get into the space of working with customers, there are laws, privacy laws, which can affect how the implementation will work, because we might need to delete some data, and that is in the blockchain very questionable.
Yeah.
So that's one of the hard thing in the technology, to decipher how to do that and how that should be handled in those cases.
It reminds me of, I believe it was Henry Kissinger or somebody saying, what is the problem with the EU? If I want to deal with the EU, who do I call? Do I call 15 people, which is part of anything more decentralized, right? It's a different type of thinking needed.
I'd like to add one more thing when we talk about the talent, because the blockchain is definitely technology of tomorrow. You like it, you don't like it, it's going to be here, and it's basically here to stay. And you see over the years how much more impact the technology has, that there is nothing else you can do. And for you as leaders of your organizations, you need to start thinking, how can you start educating your people, your developers, your business development people, your other internal employees, to learn about it, to get exposed to it. Because if you're not going to do it, your competitors are going to do it. And then whoever gets to basically be the first one, that company capitalizes on the market. So I highly recommend for everyone to start thinking, reading about it yourself, inviting people to educate basically your teams about what is happening in the world, why Web3 is so important, and why it is something that's already being basically legalized in a lot of different countries, why there are a lot of frameworks created on how to implement this technology, because this technology of tomorrow. And I could give you a few more examples from like a metaverse. I don't know how much of you are into the metaverse and all VR, AI based industries, but there are already huge brands, retail brands like Coca-Cola, like all the luxury brands like Gucci, Balenciaga, investing loads of money, millions, into hiring people and building products for the VR space, for the metaverse space, and they're already doing huge marketing campaigns and making very big impact on that industry. So while we're still now debating cryptocurrency blockchain, that for me is already like old school, and a couple of years ago, what was the hot topic, the companies in US, especially in US and in Asia, are already building products in a virtual world, because they know that's going to be something where the money is going to be flooding within the next 5-10 years. So the question is, will you jump on that train that's going up the hill, or are you going to just stay here and not innovate?
But I can join in. For the enterprise, exactly. For example, in the medical solutions, I think, or I expect that there will be some regulations from the countries that, for example, medicine will have its transport will have to go into a blockchain, so that it's available to countries who can join in on the system. So it's high time to come into the space and be part of the creating the solution for those, because if you are not currently thinking about it, you will just join in without anything that you can say about it, because the system will be made.
I just wanted to connect Anastasia a little bit still on kind of the old big corporations, and maybe saying on what works and what doesn't work from maybe your own personal experience about how to deal about with the projects.
Okay. Ingrid Vasiliu-Feltes. So my personal experience goes back to 2016 when I piloted blockchain That was on the industry level. And if I go back to the levers I mentioned before to you, we use two of those levers. Automatic payments, clearance, settlements, and reconciliation was one, as well as single data systems. So that was a blockchain for energy industry. The value chain involved started with a commodity, with the mining of commodity, and ended with the wholesale distribution. There were plans to go into retail as well. So for me, for a consultant, the major question was, is there financial business case, right? Because this whole started honestly as a PR. Big players wanted to try something, wanted, to be vocal in the space, but the question was, okay, is there financial case? So imagine the industry where there was massive problem of trust between the players along the value chain, and the number of disputes were insane. It was tens of thousands only within B2B players. B2C, I just don't know, millions probably. We had very low automation in contracting and accounting. The data meters were, just the information from them was printed out manually and inputted in the centralized system. So I could imagine the worst. And then back to the trust, employees of various players actually physically went to the meters to see, what's going on there, because they didn't trust those centralized system as well. And there was all.
Now we lost you totally, but actually I'm going to tell, and you can just know the very compressed communication just if I had gotten from our previous discussions. So it's a decentralized system, lots of players in the commodity business, and always the trust, and nobody trusts anybody, quite a cutthroat business. And it started, what's a very typical way how you start a blockchain project, certainly in the financial services, you don't start it because of the business case, you start actually not even from the office of the business, you started from innovation office, from the PR. So you want to say, we are the first bank to have used Ripple for something, and then we are not going to use anything in the next 10 years. So this is what it started, but if I understand correctly, it did turn out that there is a positive case, because indeed there was a massive issue with trust, and indeed blockchain could contribute to the case. So there was a developed, and if I remember correctly, so finally it didn't go through because there are all kinds of reasons why project in a massive industry with many players wouldn't go through. But it's a very much that even you and I, as kind of the more skeptical side, you came out with the belief, you personally, that this would have meant, it still would mean sense if it gets implemented. If we can have a second try, maybe like what are your advice, like top three advice maybe on the side of how to be successful?
So I think, as I said, that if two criteria are met, if there is a wide adoption and there is a positive business case, at some point there will be breakthrough. I think the question is, how to start it, who will start it, and if I think of that, there are three cases. So first of all, the few players of the industry, they collaborate and say, okay, we want to do it. They kind of the driving force. The second, and I think maybe that's the Macedonian way, honestly, like Georgian was, what if the government drives the adoption, right? And I think then all the other companies just will, have no chance not to follow. And the last one, the idea can come kind of from the bottom, but if there would be some pilot which really shows the great benefits in implementation, I'm sure other players, like a bigger player, will just jump on that. So there are three angles which you can look at, and Peter, I think you know better what is more relevant.
Yep, so I think at this point, before going thanks, I think that it just happened so without actually pre-planned that all three participants actually kind of ended up on the note in terms of blockchain adoption is how we start now is the time to starting, and either you're involved in the start and you get the initiative and then make the right moves, or some years down the line you're going to be a follower and you're going to be losing the momentum.
I would love to add before we wrap, I think, to the questions is if you don't care about technology right now or you don't know even how to start, think about it from the marketing perspective, as I run a marketing agency, I need to put the marketing angle out here as well. So for example, one of our clients is Inamedinova. This is a technology and a platform for doctors to connect with patients on a metaverse, and they literally just treated the first person on the metaverse. Imagine what the headlines were there. Imagine the first hospital who will do that, how much publicity they're gonna get. There are other examples from large corporations who are just starting out. They do one thing, the impact on PR and marketing, on brand awareness is huge. So also think about the positives you can try, small things. As an example, create NFTs for your employees. So every employee can get an NFT, and the cost of creating your NFT collection is very, very low, and dropping them to their Ethereum wallets. That forces everyone within your organization to learn how to create a wallet on the MetaMask, how to receive an NFT, how to transfer that NFT as well. And it's such a simple exercise to use and to do within your organization, but the impact here is huge internally and as well internally. So when I was preparing for this conference, I did a little bit of research, and I haven't seen any Macedonian companies doing something like that. So it's definitely for you an opportunity to be a first Macedonian company to do an NFTs, to do, let's say, your own cryptocurrency, to pay in, let's say, office kitchen for snacks. You can do something very simple that doesn't necessarily has to be a huge impact changing your overall internal system. Do something simple, simple NFT, simple currency, just an awareness day on cryptocurrencies within your organization. So there are a lot of very simple steps to take, basically, to just test it out.
And be in the agile way. So going to the questions, and actually, unsurprisingly, quite a few of the questions are the things which are a bit outside, which also cover the NFTs, the currencies and stuff. And starting with the question, which I'll take the liberty to answer partially, it's a very good question. Hey, there are benefits of blockchain in many different industries, but how does that square with the sustainability goals? Presumably the person asking is, yeah, but aren't we going to burn the planet in the process of making better medical records? Well, here, I will just take the answer is that the very energy-intensive so-called proof of work approach that Bitcoin uses, that Ethereum is still using, it's not the only way. There are these things called proof of stake, which are more made on economics reason. So certainly for cases in the businesses and stuff, there are going to be ways, and there are already alternatives, how to use this technology without this presenting a sustainability issue, which is certainly a topic with the Bitcoin.
One more thing I would love to add, sorry. Check Elrond. Elrond is the European blockchain actually out of Romania, and there is zero carbon emissions. So actually they're very safe and green blockchain, and they're one of the top basic cryptocurrencies, Elrond. So there are actually currencies that are fixing these issues, and they're layer ones you can build on top.
So very much there. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so, and if I can join in, so we have the proof of stake, but even Bitcoin, so I'm not sure if it's public knowledge, it's knowledge, but in Iceland, they were making a lot of power for the aluminum industry. And aluminum industry, because of the COVID has came in, has gone down, and now they have a lot of power that they don't know what to use for. So now Iceland has become a big exporter of Bitcoin, because they can use the green energy they are making from thermal power stations for Bitcoin mining, and it's inexhaustible, so yeah, it's a green energy and green Bitcoin.
So in any case, there is no reason to make a shortcut, oh, this is destroying the environment, I'm not going to look into blockchain. That's the wrong excuse. There's a question about you mentioned about NFTs. It's not just about the pieces of art, which is very much your message. Can you give some examples of how you can create new experiences for customers of companies? What you mentioned, one is how you can create new experience for the employees, and in the day of age of more labor, actually your employees are maybe becoming again just as important as the customers, but maybe some examples about the customers on the B2C side?
Yes, so there are two ways how you can do it. First way is just a simple drop, which drop can be exchanged into something. So let's say if you have a large community of customers, you can just say whoever sends us and uploads, let's say our MetaMask Ethereum wallet, could get an NFT, and that NFT can be changed into, let's say, a PR package, whatever you're willing to give, just as a promotion for them to get it, understand what it is, and then use it. Next opportunity could be use it as an access pass. So for example, if you're organizing some kind of event, you're organizing something where you need like a ticket, your ticket can be an NFT. So you can be sent via basically Ethereum, and then you exchange it into that. Third thing is, if you're into gaming or you're somehow related to gaming, you can use NFTs as skins on games. So basically, when you think about your character, you can change their clothes, their attire, all these things. These things can be used as NFTs, and this means they can become collectibles. Number 4, overall, like loyalty points, loyalty cards, something when you purchase, you get it, and then again, you exchange it into discount. So think of the NFTs as sort of like a points, sort of like a vouchers you can give for whatever reasons you feel your marketing team feels that it's basically useful. And if you want to talk with me more about how you can use it for your particular business case, well, I'll be somewhere here.
Yeah, one more example for customers would be, for example, if someone has an NFT, he can get complimentary in another store a sale or something, so lower price, a cooperation between 2 companies, like marketing.
Lots of examples. There was a question, we already mentioned quite a few examples of using the blockchain, but of course people never have enough. So any kind of very surprising use of blockchain that you have found, and then you have like sort of said afterwards, ooh, actually this makes sense, but at the first you were like, what on earth? Anything like you were like surprised?
That's a good question. Surprised. One super cool technology that we're currently working on is one of our clients. I don't know how much of you know ifthisthenThat.com, EFTT.com. It's basically a platform which allows to do things on the internet. So for example, if you get an email, it automatically sends, let's say, a tweet for you or sends an SMS message. So basically it lets you to integrate different apps and use them whatever you want to create structures. So they're building the same things on NFTs. So for example, you can program your NFTs to do certain things. As an example is you can program your NFT to become your Twitter picture for a certain period of time, or let's say if you are losing a game and you're using certain NFTs, you can automatically program them to change, let's say, your skin, to change to a different weapon within the game. So they're actually building things on top of NFTs, which for me was super excited because this is like new thing, and it was such a popular thing in Web 2. Now it's going to Web 3 as well.
Anastasia, have you come across something that you were like really surprised as a use of blockchain, and what was sort of, well, actually, this makes sense?
Hey, look, I think the whole, honestly, metaverse thing was a big surprise for me after being so much time in the space. But you know, I have some friends who are just unpeeling this onion, and there are so many kind of things there. But that's where I'm surprised actually where this whole thing is going to go, right? I think either it's going to be great success, or it's going to be just, you know, some games, some shops for a few years, and it will die. Very curious.
One more very interesting example is Gucci released their NFT basically based shoes, virtual shoes, which you had to pay $12 to buy. And how you can use them, you can only use them in a game, or you can scan it through your phone and you can see it on your feet virtually. And people were buying it because it was Gucci and it was only $12. So sometimes brands are even making fortunes from these virtual goods that cost them very little to produce, but the industry is there, the hype is there, and the consumers are ready to buy, to say, hey, I have virtual Gucci shoes. And that also makes a very good story.
So we got now to the topics for the next summits about the metaverse. And you know what I didn't comment, the previous full-time summit was a lot about the business of legal marijuana. And of course, Macedonia is an agricultural country, so of course we had a summit first about marijuana, legal marijuana, and then we came to crypto. And next time we'll probably speak about metaverse. And another topic for future, Nikita, Mike, like sort of closer kind of to your heart, 2 questions which we won't get into now. When is Macedonia introducing digital currency? And what's going on with the El Salvador's bankruptcy risk now that El Salvador one way or another officialized the use of cryptocurrency? excellent questions, very much touching upon Macedonia, but for future panels. And now, in the very last moment, I'm going to answer a question by somebody saying, how can we look and talk about blockchain without ending up talking about cryptocurrency? And the answer is we can't. That's why we'll get into the question about cryptocurrency there. What do you think about the future of ETH? Now, one thing about the currency, ETH is the symbol of the Ether, which is the currency running the blockchain system network called Ethereum, which is one of the major public cross-use networks for the blockchain. And the question is whether or not we speak about the network or the value of the investment. Maybe if people have, like Laura, Mladen, you have some opinion about what's the future of ETH.
I'm no opinion. I'm just waiting. I'm not sure which cryptocurrency will win in the end.
One thing we need to think about is they're moving from proof of work to proof of stake, basically, so that makes them a little bit more energy conscious and consume less energy. And overall, what I personally, again, it's my personal opinion, believe that definitely if they continue down this route, promoting it, talking about it, and Vitalik, the CEO, is really good spokesperson, it might even overpower Bitcoin in 10 years or so, because it has very, very strong foundation, very strong community. So definitely the future is bright, but not a financial advice. Your money is at risk.
Yeah, I want to add that probably the developers need to learn Ethereum because it showed that transaction throughput is a bit small, as the Bored Ape Club, Yuga Labs just released something and they basically crashed Ethereum network. So even proof of stake won't really solve the issue because there are other ways to use the Ethereum. There are layer 2s, but we don't want to go that much into it.
All right, the time is up. So in a very compressed way, Anastasia, your view of Ethereum, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Look, Peter, I want to tell you one thing. When we start talking about, Ethereum's crypto assets, I feel that there's a lot of hype, everybody's excited. Obviously, due to the blockchain that was the major, discussion point for today, is not that exciting. It's not like disruptive. It creates great value. So, one thing I, want to everybody get from this session is, not Ethereum going up and down, but there is a lot of way how you improve the whole industries, make it more efficient using the blockchain.
All right, thanks a lot. This finishes up our session. We are having a follow-up. There is the lunch break, so we can continue discussing. Unfortunately, this doesn't work all the way to Bali. So thanks, Anastasia, for joining us. Thanks to participants. Thanks for the questions.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.